welcome to the Glow Summit, the online clean beauty lifestyle and wellness summit to help you get glowing skin from the inside out. And today I have an extremely special guest with me. I have the amazing Claudia Mirallegro. I think I said that right. Mirallegro, yeah. And she is an absolutely incredible 500-hour yoga teacher. She's also an acro yoga teacher. So if you've ever done that before or you've never done that before, then you should definitely check it out. I did one of Claudia's classes. I think it was about maybe a month ago now, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was so much fun, and so I would highly recommend everyone to do it. But we're here today to talk all about how to get glowing skin and how yoga can help you with that. So thank you so much for joining me, Claudia.
Thank you for having me.
So the first question I always ask everybody, because I am obsessed with morning routines. So what is your morning routine like?
Oh, okay. So my morning routine really varies at the moment because I teach so early. I really don't have too much time in the morning for me. But I always make sure that I get my jade roller in. I don't know if you use them, but I am obsessed with it. I discovered using a jade roller about a year ago, and it's one of the only things that I've kept in within my routine. So I leave it in the fridge overnight, and then I'll set my alarm for about 5:50, and then I just get it out the fridge in the morning, get back in bed, and literally just roll it across my face for 10 minutes. And I swear by that because I wake up with quite a lot of puffiness, and using a roller or just using a jade stone is so good to depuff and to also help with drainage. And if you use a little bit of oil as well, you can kind of just like smother it around the face. It's really, really nice. That's like my go-to. I would love to incorporate more meditation. That's on my to-do list to wake up to multitask, to use the jade roller and to meditate. If I'm having a good week, then I'll definitely try and get a few meditations in. And then I'm pretty much out the door, straight to a yoga class.
Oh, that's amazing. It sounds busy, but also lovely. And I don't actually use a jade roller. I've used, it's gua sha. So it's it's really similar. It's made out of jade as well. But I should maybe put that in the fridge because I think that would be so nice when you're doing like
it's a game changer. Having it so cold on your face is just, it's beautiful.
Oh, I'll have to do that. Okay, I'm going to do that tonight. So how did you get into yoga and how has it been transformational for you?
So it's quite a long story. I've been practicing yoga for over about 10 years now, actually. And I originally got into it because I saw a sign saying that you could lose 1,000 calories in a session. So for all the wrong reasons. So I started going to Bikram yoga, which is really intense if you've never been to it. And I actually got hooked. I was going every day. I was just practicing and just building up this strong discipline. And I'm just seeing a lot of changes within my personal life. And then it wasn't until I actually moved to America that my connection with yoga got a little bit more deeper. I was over in LA pursuing a career in acting, and I was auditioning and I was going to loads of acting schools, and I just felt really anxious all the time. The industry can be quite depleting on your energy. And I just started to feel quite low, which is not me. So I was going to yoga all the time there. And then the course the school rather that I was training at had a teacher training. So I just decided to go for it. And then I did training for about 3 months with them. And then when I finally moved back to England, it took about a year, but then I started to teach, and then word of mouth just started to kind of get around. And then before I knew it, everything I just organically grew, and that's all I do now, just teach and practice and spread the yoga love. So yeah, it's just transformed my life. It's allowed me to connect back to me and to who I am. I think the acting industry really kind of took me away from myself, and I started to really lose my identity because you're constantly trying to fit into this mold of someone else you're meant to be. And I think a lot of people can just resonate to that in life in general. You know, there's you're always trying to be someone else, but really I think yoga teaches you to come back to you and to your essence, and it allowed me to step back from acting and to do that just within my own life. But I think most people can just take so much from it themselves by doing that as well. So yeah, that's really
I love
right.
that.
Oh.
Yeah, and it is so true that yoga really does bring yourself back to you, which sounds random, but it's true, because I always find whenever I get stressed out, if I go and do a yoga class, I remember living in New Zealand, and I would have a particularly stressful day or morning, and I would go at lunchtime and just have an hour, and oh my goodness, it just, the person who walked into that yoga class compared to the person who left were two different people.
Yeah,
I was just like so grounded and like floating on partly grounded and also floating on a cloud of just being like, oh, everything's fine, don't worry about it. And it's so powerful. I really, really believe that yoga is really transformational, and it can help with so much stuff, especially with lowering your cortisol levels and stopping you stressing out so much, and also helping your skin to really glow, particularly if it's a warm or hot yoga class.
I think just the breathing exercises in general help with skin though. I mean, I think probably oxygen is one of the best things we can have for our skin. So if you're constantly breathing and pumping fresh oxygen, then it's going to have an effect on the glowiness of your skin.
Yeah, it completely is. And it leads me on to one of my questions, actually, because in yoga, you talk a lot about breathing. So are there any particular breathing practices that you practice every day when you're not doing yoga, that say if somebody's a bit stressed out or they're in their office, that they could, something really simple that they could do to bring them back to themselves, but it also helps to start pumping that oxygen around their body to then also help them give glowing skin?
Yeah. Well, like I said, just focusing on the breath will help kind of get oxygen flowing. But an exercise that I do very often, and I teach a lot of people because it is just so simple to do, is called alternative nostril breathing. And it does look a little bit funky, but I really like it because it allows you to really tune into your breath. So do you want me to just give you a quick demonstration of it?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
So for example, you can use your right hand and you'll place your thumb on your nose and on your right nostril. Oh, so you're doing it with me?
Yeah, why not? I'll try it.
So right thumb on your right nostril, and then you can place your index finger and then your middle finger on your forehead. And then your index finger and your pinky finger are going to be used for the left nostril. Okay. So we'll start by having the pinky finger and the index finger off the left nostril. Yeah, you can see me still. So take a breath in through the left nostril. Now hold the left nostril with the left finger, yep, and then start to breathe out from the right nostril. And then breathe in through the right. Close the right, breathe out left. Breathe in left. Close left, breathe out right. Breathe in right. Close the right, breathe out left. So then you can just keep doing that a few times. Normally I'd say to do that for about 2 minutes. And I really find that it allows me to tune into the breath, but then really take deep rounds of breath, because the breath is just circulating, in and out through the different nostrils. But sometimes with breathing exercises, you can just find that before you know it, your mind is starting to wander to somewhere else. But using the hand, having the hand action in there and just following each nostril really allows you to tune in and remain present. And so I definitely recommend alternative nostril breathing. So yeah, have a go at that one.
Yeah, that's so good. So for people who couldn't see, I was actually doing it with Claudia as well. And
let's see. Sorry.
So it jumps, but the screens jump between the two. But I love that. I've used it. I've done it before, but I haven't done it for ages actually. Hence why I decided to breathe with you. And it does make you feel so much better. I love it. And it also helps with all the oxygen, especially if you're really stressed out. I just find that anything that can breathe and bring you back to yourself and focus on just the breathing then is amazing. So are there any yoga poses that you particularly love to help kind of get the skin glowing and also like the blood pumping around the skin and in that area?
Oh, yes. Inversions, 1,000,000%. Or acro yoga, anything that's going to get your heart rate going and get the blood flowing. So with inversions, your heart is actually above your head. So it's when you're basically upside down. So even if you're in a downward facing dog, you'll naturally start to feel the blood start to rise to your face, which is a great way to get the blood flowing, like I just said, and to help glow the face. But then as well, I would definitely recommend headstand or even a more strenuous inversion, like a handstand. Basically, the more strenuous you go, the more heat and the more fire you're going to start to build, and then for the more energy you're going to build and cultivate too. And that's what we want to that's what we want to get out of it, really, energy.
So if somebody's really new to it, then would something like, I don't know the actual word or the word for it, but I've noticed whenever I'm a little bit stressed out, if I lie on the floor and put my legs up in the air, and that's normally something really simple, but it helps. And especially if you're not like a yogi, then you can, like, all the blood then runs from your legs all the way to your head, and that's quite nice as well.
Yeah, so that's just legs up the wall pose, and I know, great name. And I do that a lot if I'm feeling really fatigued, because you can just rest. It's really restorative. There's not much that you need to do apart from just slide your hips to a wall and then have the legs inverted. If you did want to make it more intense, you can put a pillow or a bolster on the feet. But then, again, the blood can just start to drain from the legs all the way up through the body. So that's a really nice one. Thank you for that.
No problem. So it's just sometimes, like I sometimes find that people, whenever they're talking about exercise, whatever it is, get a little bit like, oh, I can't do that, because like as soon as you mention something that they're not used to, they just freak out a bit. So even if you can just put your legs up against a wall, which some of my yoga friends in New Zealand do. One of them, she's a mum, and she's like, every time she gets stressed out, you'll see her like lying on the floor with her legs up in the air. I'm like, oh my.
Well, I think the two of the best, well, they actually do say the two best, the best postures to do are an inversion, so headstand, and then also shavasana, where you just lie down and rest. So I said that to my mum, and pretty much every day, she doesn't do much exercise, she's not a yogi, but she will, in her bed, just put her head next to the bed and then fling her legs up just so she can get the blood rushing down. So it is accessible for everyone. And I think if you're in the comfort of your own home, you can kind of experiment a little bit more. But if you have a wall next to you, you can just have a play around. That's another reason why I love yoga, is because you can start to just bring a playful element into it. It doesn't have to be always really serious.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because I've been trying to do headstands at home. It's so funny trying to watch me do it, where my legs.
You just have to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, you get into your body though. That's what I really love, when you don't realize how much you're out of your body until you attempt to do something like a handstand or a headstand, and then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why I love them too, because you have to be present. You cannot be thinking about anything else when you're upside down.
So good. So what are so you've just been on an amazing trip, actually, haven't you? Can you tell us a little bit about that, and say like the key things that you learned from that you want to bring back?
Oh god, there's so many things I learned. It was a mandala yoga course in India. And mandala yoga is when you move 360 around the yoga mat. So it's really active. And I was also training in the elements as well. So we kind of honored each element every single day according to what element it is. And that was really interesting, and definitely something that I will be bringing into my classes more of, just that connection with the element. That's what we are made up of, and I think when you do start to connect with nature, then it just starts to bring you back home to yourself. Really, it makes you feel more grounded, and so yeah, that's definitely something I'll be bringing back. And then I guess just the whole practice itself was like I said, quite challenging. So if you've never been to my class before, I do a hip hop yoga sculpt class, and the intention behind it is to kind of sculpt your body and your mind, and really to just make your mind go for what it wants. And I always thought it was a challenging practice until I did this one. And now I realize that I can really start to step things up a notch again. And like you said, it's when you do these more strenuous poses, like an inversion, it just brings you into the present moment. And it's not about trying to aesthetically achieve anything, a certain pose, a peak pose. It's more about the journey that you go on along the way. So that will be another big element that I want to start to kind of translate back into my classes here.
That's amazing. So, you know, I know you mentioned about the elements just before, and how can people like incorporate the elements into day-to-day life? Like how would that work?
So it's really about honoring your element. So a good place to start would be by discovering what element you're most linked to. For me, I'm air, so I like to change things up all the time. I'm very much here, there and everywhere, a little bit ditzy. So for me, I know that I really need a lot of grounding, and for me it would be important to really focus on restorative practices, on meditation, on having stability and kind of just looking after myself rather than feeling the need to be like wind and move all over the place. So it's about finding the balance within your life. So I think if you can discover what you are, then you can also find your strengths, and then you can also find things that you may need to kind of balance out your strengths as well. So to kind of just keep you on this balance rather than going really high and then low.
So how do people find out what element they are?
So you can do it through your astrological sign. So they will correlate with an element. But then there was a lot of people on the course that were a certain sign, but then they didn't necessarily resonate with it. So I would just say to kind of study them yourself, and then to see which resonates with you most, because we're all made up of all of them, but there are some that you are going to just find that you just, you know, you gravitate towards more, towards that one more. So yeah, it's more about self-study, I guess, and just kind of learning a little bit more about yourself as well. So
I love that, because we were talking just before the call, and I was saying how I'm Virgo in my star sign, and that's an earth sign, and I very much feel like an earth sign, but when I get stressed out, I feel like I become more of an air sign. So I have to do grounding meditations and yoga to bring me back into myself again. So it's definitely really interesting. I'm sure you could Google about it as well if people wanted to learn more. So I feel like we've answered all of the questions already that I was going to ask, because it just kind of went so quickly and I was just really in with it. So what is the future for you then? Where's the goals, and what do you want to do going forward?
I'm kind of just riding this wellness wave at the moment. It means so much to me that I can live and teach yoga as my full-time job, and just to keep spreading the magic of yoga, whether that's in Manchester or around the world. I've got a few retreats lined up, so I guess that is the dream, to be able to travel and teach. But then I also just love the community that I've started to build in Manchester, so that's really special for me as well. But then, you know, ideally, like a big thing for me is to focus on bringing yoga into schools as well. I just believe that, you know, the children are our future, and I think we should really be nurturing them and teaching them these tools and these tips to help them. So yeah, that will definitely be one of the goals.
I love that. And so what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? Now, this can be in relation to skin, it can also be in relation to wellness or yoga, but something that really stands out where you're like, oh, I've just remembered that and it's amazing.
You know what? Bizarrely, actually, one came up for skin.
Oh, go. Great.
For skin, my ex-boyfriend used to have amazing skin, and his tip was from W3ll, who has amazing skin, and it was to always wash your face with cold water. So that has always stuck with me. I don't know if everyone's aware of that.
Oh,
but
it's so amazing.
Cold water, yeah, so never ever put in warm water, hot water on your face.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. Now I do put warm water on my face for when I'm like taking makeup off, but first thing in the morning, cold water is like next level incredible because it just wakes you up. I feel like it tightens everything on your skin. It reduces like some of the inflammation on there if you've got any. Just think it's amazing. So that was a great tip.
I guess something more inspirational would be, I don't know, it's really hard because I hear so many beautiful things every day. I think something that always really resonates with me is just to trust the process. It's took me so many no's and so many losses and just like a really, really long journey to get to this place in my life, and I wish then I could have just realized that it was all happening for that reason, to kind of push me into the place that I'm at now. And realizing that now also gives me just a great sense of reassurance that if something does go wrong, or something doesn't go my way, or you know, there's an opportunity that gets lost, that it hasn't happened for a reason, and you just have to trust the dots that everything is connecting to actually the place that you meant to go. So yeah, I guess that's probably one of the biggest things that I take and I use it within every day. You know, every time something happens, I really believe in alignment, and I just think you have to just trust it. The universe knows. Just keep doing you, keep doing your thing, work hard and play hard.
Yeah, I love that so much. And finally, what is your favorite yoga pose?
Oh God, I haven't thought about this for a while actually. I just love them all. Probably pigeon pose. Who doesn't love pigeon?
Oh, that is a good one. I love it.
It's a great hip opener, and you feel like you're working, but also you can make it really restorative and just kind of lie down as well.
Yeah, love that. Great answer. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I know you've just got back and you're tired and things, so I really appreciate.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, just coming in, giving some great advice and sharing some yoga love with all of the listeners. And for everybody who is listening, I'd love you to head on over to the Facebook group just to let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this, or if you're going to go and try any of the yoga poses that we were talking about. So thank you everyone so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.